It's the stuff of science fiction, a future where society is collated, automated, and regimented, on a planet where everything we ingest, from water to medicinals to food, from farms to grocers' shelves, from cradle to grave, is determined by multinational corporations. Some would call this progress, a necessity in this technocratic world. Others dismiss this view as naive and see dark designs behind the machinations of a growing international bureaucracy, which they believe is overseeing a power grab by the wealthiest companies on the planet. Many reject these beliefs as one part conspiracy theory and one part lunatic fringe. But it is not a fantasy, not at all, and the angst is justified. A shadowy international body, Codex Alimentarius, sanctioned by the United Nations, is where the political and economic battles are being waged for the future of the food and medicine supply. It is there where multinational corporations have lined up in an attempt to influence international regulations, and where they hope to sign exclusive contracts to feed and care for the masses worldwide. In America, the FDA stated its intentions long ago. They intend to harmonize food and health care, along with Big Food and Big Pharma, at Codex.
If there's a higher corporate good to be served by breaking the law, by having the FDA work with the Codex and try and drag the U.S. into this nightmare, then they're all for it, and they're doing it.
They do so far away from the scrutiny of a disinterested media. Yet their power will be so far-reaching that it is almost unimaginable to us here in present days.
This would be like the ultimate reaching of government into our personal health lives, which would be unbelievable. And not even our government, some, bureaucratic, diffuse, multinational, secretive government.
If they succeed, healthcare, and indeed our lives, will never be the same. The battle for personal sovereignty is being waged right now at Codex Alimentarius.
These FDA bureaucrats meeting on distant shores will support increasing internationalization and harmonization of our domestic legislation to the international legislation and international standards and guidelines that are being formulated by Codex and other international bodies. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the strategic plan for Codex Alimentarius Commission, it says these standards and guidelines are intended to be implemented both domestically and internationally.
In the war against Codex, few have understood its implications better than Scott Tipps, president of the National Health Federation. Early in the new century, Tipps applied to be accredited and recognized as an INGO, an international non-governmental organization, at Codex meetings. NHF, the world's oldest health freedom organization, was granted that status, and the power brokers at Codex have regretted it ever since.
There's only one Codex Alimentarius in the world, and there's only one health freedom organization that represents the consumer. I believe that every generation has its own struggle against power brokers who want to control individual freedom. It's an issue of personal freedom versus the bureaucratic mind. And so the health freedom issue, to me, is a primary human rights issue.
NHF has been at the forefront of the battle for medical freedom of choice since the beginning, challenging the FDA and Congress at every turn to preserve the rights of consumers. If Codex rules are adopted worldwide, though, it will become virtually impossible to use dietary supplements therapeutically, because dosages will be too low, and synthetic ingredients would replace natural sources.
There has been a concerted effort to try and limit the amount of vitamins and minerals in dietary supplements for some time now. What they want are the recommended dietary allowances, which are simply the minimal amount to prevent deficiency diseases like rickets and beriberi and pellagra and scurvy. So if they can be successful, we would obviously not be able to achieve therapeutic doses or even prevent disease.
At each Codex meeting, NHF has been fighting the Commission's designs to create what they term safe upper limits on vitamins and minerals.
One of the questions that's asked is, why is there a movement to establish an upper limit on the dosages of dietary supplements, vitamins, and minerals? And we do ask that question because we're asking, where are the dead bodies? Where is the mortality? We went back and looked at the poison control data. Certainly no deaths in the last 8 years reported by the Poison Control Centers of America. So dietary supplements are the safest consumer products that we can find, and certainly they're being mischaracterized as somehow unsafe to the public, that the public needs to be on guard in taking dietary supplements. And I think this is just a mischaracterization that must be stopped.
Since no other group but the NHF has earned the right to speak out at the Codex meetings, no one else can combat the onerous bureaucratic mindset, and they do so on the record, every day, at home and at Codex meetings.
NHF is not only the leader in Codex, it is also the leader in federal issues at our Capitol. So they understand how our government is either representing us well in the international climate or not. We have to think of the human spirit and the human autonomy when we're making regulations. NHF is a national leader, and that's why they are the best spokesperson at Codex, because they understand what we need at home.
As we stare at a future where genetically altered crops and processed food are the norm, as we face the prospect of our health being hijacked by government bureaucrats who are in league with corporate power brokers, we need the real truth in order to act.
NHF is the only health freedom organization with the right to sit down at the Codex table. And this is a key difference. It's one thing to attend a Codex meeting. Anyone listening to this could attend a Codex meeting, but you don't have the right to make a difference there. You don't have the right to participate. You don't have the right to speak out on important issues. And that's what we can do at these meetings, is we can do all of that. We can speak out, we can interact, we can make a difference. And we do make a difference.
As a movement of people who demand more health freedoms, not less, we must insist that facts constitute the dialogue on health freedom issues. We need to know whom we can trust. We need integrity. These are the principles upon which the nation's first health freedom organization was built. 6 decades later, the National Health Federation stands tall, in the states, at Codex, and wherever the fight for health freedom needs to be waged. Over the past half-century, many have come and gone, but the NHF is still the torchbearer for medical freedom of choice worldwide. They have been there for all of us. They have been our champions, and now, more than ever, they deserve your help.